All right, let's get to the top of the news, though. Again, news out of Philadelphia, the rumblings throughout the week. But Joe Girardi, yes, relieved of duties, fired today in his third year with Philadelphia. He was 22 and 29 this year. Before that, had 10 years with the Yankees. So Dave Dombrowski, a reasonably new head of baseball operations, general manager there in Philadelphia, makes the move. Take a look at the last 3 years. Now, that first year, that was very disappointing for a team that had gotten Bryce Harper. That's in the shortened season. That's when there were guys, when 8 teams, half the league made the playoffs. The Phillies did not. So it's not a terrible record. Last year, 82 and 80, not a terrible record, but disappointing this year. Again, they saw a change of direction was necessary. First, though, Joe Girardi, we'll hear from both, Dave Dombrowski and Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi making his appearance on MLB Network Radio earlier today.
Dave called me this morning and asked me to come in, so I went in and he told me we're going to make a change. And I said, okay, and I wish him nothing but the best of luck. I think there's more talent in that room than the way that we have played, and I hope, for the Middletons and the Bucks and the organization and the fans that they can turn this around and get to the playoffs. I think you understand it better as you go through it more times, and we underperformed, and that falls on me, so this is what happens.
And I don't put it all on Joe, as we said in the release. We've been a club that has struggled. I'm disappointed. I put the club together. I think we're better than what we played. But to me, I think the most important part of if we're going to turn this around, and I think we still have the capabilities to do it, I think we need a different voice in the clubhouse. I think a different voice in the clubhouse with the players, with the staff members, and I think that Topper provides that. I think he'll provide a different type of communication aspect with the players, with everybody taking place. And so I think that was really important for us to get it going. I did not consult with one player. I did not consult with one coaching staff member. There was a decision myself. I talked to some of our my front office personnel. I did talk to John Middleton after where my thought process was and what I was thinking about. And John said, that's basically, it's your decision. Whatever you feel that we need to do, I support you.
I'm a little bit different than Joe. I'm not going to go into the differences, but I like to think that I'm prepared and I'm a good communicator with these guys. These guys are good. The plan is to make sure that all these guys know where they're supposed to be at any given time, whether it's our bullpen, the lineup, whatever it is. I just want to make sure that the guys are prepared.
That's Rob Thompson. He was the bench coach. Now he is the interim manager for the rest of the year. I'll know this, Yonder. I'll start with this. When I heard the rumblings earlier this week, I thought, nah. Like, there's so many things happening. Joe Girardi is an extremely competent manager. I was surprised by the rumblings. I was a bit surprised today. You?
I was as well, but, I have to say he must have seen this coming, right? Because when you lose 12 out of the last 17 games, you've lost. And on top of that, 8 out of the 12, you've had the lead and you've lost those. I think that's very hard for front office to kind of swallow. And when you have that going on, when you have your guys and you have his set of rules, like Girardi kind of says at times, he doesn't like to use guys 3 times in a row. That's also tough because if you have the lead, you got to go with your A guys. And when you can't go to your A guys, that's a problem as well. Look, I was in this situation as well as a player when Buddy Black got let go with only one game under 500, kind of in the middle of the same time, and the players were in shock. And you have 2 ways to look at this as a player. You either go the right way and try to make amends to this and pull out of this, or you just dive. And it's going to be a rocky year the whole way out. Unfortunately, from my side, we went south.
I want to point out one thing that was on that graphic there before, Jake, you weigh in. You saw defensive runs saved, 29th. There are 30 teams in Major League Baseball. They're 29th. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Negative 25. It's a bad defensive team. We know this. Bullpen ERA, still 21st, even though they've had some decent performances. And I would say, Jake, it's better than it has been the previous 2 years. That's been kind of the Achilles heel of the club. So give me your read of the whole thing.
Well, my read is something had to give. When you're in a market like Philadelphia, passionate of a fan base following, we all know what the talk radio, and you underperform to this clip, something's got to give. We know that. And unfortunately, I just believe, like you're kind of proving or pointing out, BK, that Joe Girardi was just a fall guy. Joe Girardi is not the reason for them being last in defensively.
Right. He ain't catching the ball.
Well, I think there's a lot of responsibility to be taken here, and Dave Dombrowski did take some of that. But these guys, along with maybe Joe Girardi, I don't know how much managers have leash in constructing these lineups, but he didn't construct this lineup. So it's unfortunate that it had to happen, but when you're reeling like this, something has to happen to maybe spark your team. It sounds like Rob Thompson's got great communication. The players love him, but again, he is going to be a lot like Joe Girardi. You maybe just hope something different kicks in and you can somehow get it going.
When you have a payroll like this and your bullpen is 21st, it's unacceptable.
Right, but that's
you knew this coming in that
that's the
they
roster
needed
being put together.
Right,
right?
they had to have known coming in that, hey, we can defend. It's going to be a little shaky, and we need to solidify the bullpen.
Well, and I thought they tried to, because some of these guys had some success, more success than they're having now.
Correct.
And I use the word weird and unlucky. But at the end of the day, this team was built to bang. When you sign Kyle Schwarber and you sign Nick Castellanos, you're banging. They have underperformed on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And the others have been exposed.
Take a look. Just take a look at some of the players that have been brought in there. Again, Bryce Harper, starting with Bryce Harper, right? Then JT Realmuto. And this, again, Dave Dombrowski then coming in and then re-signing JT Realmuto and kept him here. Went 2 years with Didi Gregorius. And then this was puzzling. I thought, and you can love both players. Schwarber and Castellanos have a lot of offense, and there's no question. A lot of ways of getting into that. But they went long term. They also went pretty high money, and they got two guys who do not field well, but hit. Then from there, here are the relief pitching additions. Knebel, as we were talking about, Brad Hand, the numbers actually quite good. Joyce Familia, not terrible. Nick Nelson, not as good. But they were making moves, but for whatever reason, it hasn't all worked. I'll just say this. Through most of baseball history, when a team didn't perform well, manager got fired because that was the guy who ran the club and he was responsible. We've realized years later, all right, it's a GM's game. Now I think it's even evolved from there where it's an organizational game.
Correct.
In the era of performance maximizing, now it is just everybody on the staff that you put together. That's kind of where it's at. And how many Phillies do we ever see break out? We were just talking about the Giants. Giants have guys breaking, as a dozen of them breaking out.
Well, this is a
seemingly.
typical
And this does not
Dombrowski
happen.
roster, right? Or you can tell me about it. If the Dombrowski rosters are built to kind of intimidate the opposing teams, right? With corner guys that can slug and really good top-end
Tigers,
rotations.
then Red Sox, firepower. He gets firepower.
When you went in there, you knew veteran power. When you went in there, you knew, oh my goodness, it's 3 days of just a roller coaster coming at you, and they're just not doing that.
And I thought that was an interesting comment that he made about not consulting any staff or players when you have this many guys under long-term contracts. And, Bryce is doing a nice job this year. It stinks that his I think him DHing is really hamstringing that defense. When he gets out there, it's going to give them, some more options. But nonetheless, when you have that many players under long-term contracts for the next few years, it would, and you're trying to get them going, I think just consulting them and at least letting them think that they have some input would make them feel good. So I just thought that a little bit strange. And again, I want to make an excuse for Dave Dombrowski because, he inherited quite a mess there in Philadelphia and trying to do the best he can with it.
Right, but you have Bryce Harper. I think there's 9 more years on that deal. Don't you want to get the feel for it? You would think. And it's not like kowtowing to your star. It's like, actually, we're kind of partners in this.
The highest paid guy in the building for the next 9 years.
It's also a guy that's been around in Dombrowski for a long time. Maybe he still has that old school way where you play baseball, I'll take care of the rest. For me personally, if I'm invested for 9 more years, I would kind of have would like to talk, even if it doesn't matter, like you were saying, right? Because if I'm going to get recruited by a team like this and I'm going to be here with my family, with everybody, trying to do pretty much win a world championship, and you do this out of the blue and I wake up in the morning and I see this in the newspapers, I think that's a no, a negative.
It's like
You feel like you're along for the ride.
Yeah, I'm just along for the ride.
And when you sign a guy to a 13-year deal, that is not what you're doing, right? That's like, hello, partner, right, as they say.